you everyone for coming here on short notice. We just put this event together in the past, I would say 48, 72 hours. It was a mad scramble, but we love seeing all you out here to support all the projects, and of course to watch Vitalik, the founder of Ethereum, speak with Jason. So I'll give a little bit of background about Origin, and then today we're going to talk about bridging the decentralized user experience gap for cryptocurrencies and blockchains. So again, my name is Matthew Liu. I'm one of the co-founders of Origin Protocol. At Origin Protocol, we are building a platform that will enable many different decentralized marketplaces to be built on the Ethereum blockchain and IPFS. So what we imagine for the future is that you will have a decentralized version of Craigslist, a decentralized version of Airbnb, Uber, all their international equivalents, as well as many other different types of two-sided marketplaces where buyers and sellers can meet peer-to-peer, transact directly without the middleman. We're doing this for a couple of key reasons. One, we believe we can lower transaction fees between buyers and sellers, helping them save money. Two, we want to reduce censorship. We want to promote free and open commerce all over the world. Three, we believe crypto economic incentives are a fantastic way to bootstrap networks and give back to early participants. Those first 100 Uber drivers, those first 100 Airbnb hosts, they don't really get anything. But in the new world, in the decentralized world of Origin marketplaces, they can actually have a stake in the network, and for the work that they do, they can actually have a financial benefit. Lastly, there are 2 billion people that are unbanked in the world right now. They have no credit cards, they have no checking accounts, they're still transacting via fiat currencies or bartering in some cases. We believe that digital cryptocurrencies, as well as new digital marketplaces that are decentralized, will give them the opportunity to buy, share, and trade with each other for the very, very first time. So, Mr. Vitalik here in December 2017 famously tweeted, so total crypto coin market cap just hit 0.5 trillion today. That's 500 billion in market cap. But have we earned it? So I guess I'm asking everyone in the crowd here, do we think we've earned it? And I would posit that we have not yet quite earned it. The market caps have dropped quite a bit, but there's still a lot of catching up that we have to do as an industry. Cryptocurrencies and blockchain are not yet mainstream. We're starting to solve some problems. It's getting the world's attention, but we have not actually leaped over to the mainstream use cases. We have not built dApps that people are using. We have not solved some of the core problems that blockchain and cryptocurrency have been promised to solve in the past few years. Now, why is that? There's a number of reasons, and so the rest of this talk, I'm going to present some of the main challenges of us going mainstream, and then early innovations, early attempts at how we solve these problems. They're not necessarily going to solve everything in 1 day or 6 months or even a year, but they're early attempts at how we can start making the world a better place and start using blockchain and cryptocurrency technology to bridge the gap and go mainstream. So the first issue that I think a lot of people have talked about ad nauseum this year is the scalability issue. And so, again, Vitalik has put out a lot of thoughts here about the blockchain trilemma. So decentralization, scalability, and security are kind of this triumvirate that are a little bit at odds. It's really, really hard to achieve all three simultaneously, and we have definitely not done that today. So there are scalability challenges with Ethereum, low TPS, but it's highly decentralized, it's highly secure. How do we actually move to the world where Ethereum and or other blockchains can maintain that same decentralization, that same security, but then become more scalable? And in fact, if we do not have blockchains and other decentralized technology that is scalable, dApps will not be able to exist. dApps need higher TPS. If you look at something like Facebook, or if you look at even basic applications like Airbnb, they can handle a ton of transactions every second, and as they scale, that is an absolute necessity. Speed is king, right? Speed is a feature, and right now, blockchains cannot handle that. So what are some exciting innovations that are hopefully going to solve this in the next 12, 18, and 24 months? Let's first turn towards Ethereum itself. So there are 3 major scalability initiatives within Ethereum. There's Plasma. Notably, the Misigo team is working on Plasma Cash. Very, very, very interesting project, and we're following it very, very close with that team. There's sharding of data on the blockchain, and there's state channels. So the Ethereum core team is working on a lot of these initiatives to actually help the blockchain scale, increase TPS, and also consequently lower gas costs. Of course, we also have other alternative solutions, some of which are represented in this room. So we heard from Don Song earlier of Oasis Labs, working on a blockchain solution that's compatible with Ethereum EVM, which allows other projects to build and port over their code. But it is a little bit more centralized. We have our friends from Solana, who are some of the sponsors here. Thank you very much. Working on a new proof of history method, and of course we have a lot of other alternative blockchains and solutions. Some of them are regionally based, but right now we're still dealing with this blockchain trilemma. Progress is being made across many, many different fronts, but we still have quite a bit of work to do. Here's another second problem, pretty major problem, is that few coins and tokens are actually being used for their intended purposes. So currency volatility encourages speculative trading. There's some long-term hodling, but a lot of it is short-term swing trades. A lot of these tokens that are created are not being used in the way that they were intended as utility tokens to power different types of networks. This is actually a problem, right? This is a problem in many, many different cases because over the long term, we're not going to be able to sustain these valuations if there's no utility. And as a side effect of this volatility, people don't want to actually spend tokens. So monetary velocity is often very low, and these tokens end up being speculative assets rather than true utility tokens. What are some of the solutions that can address currency volatility? So I want to point out that there's multiple attempts across different avenues right now. In general, we call this category stablecoins, and it's one of the areas that I'm most personally fascinated in. I truly believe that stablecoins are going to be necessary for users all across the world to use dApps. If volatility is so high, no one is actually going to be able to transact in a way that they're familiar with. And users right now are familiar with US dollars, Japanese yen, Korean won, Chinese RMB, whatever it might be. And so we need to have these equivalents on the blockchain in order for users to be able to get the work done that they want to do. So there's several methods here. So there's collateral-backed IOUs. For example, friends here at Trust Token have released TrueUSD. It's a one-to-one reserve backing of the US dollar. And so now you can take Trust tokens and use them almost as US dollars across exchanges and in the future across many dApps. There's other earlier attempts such as MakerDAI, that's a collateral-backed on-chain with Ethereum. I'm not going to pronounce that word even though I tried to 5 times today, but we have Basis and Terra in that category, but dealing with bond-like instruments. And then we have other creative approaches too. My good friend Evan Kuo, CEO of Fragments, is working on a game theoretic, low volatility, not quite stable coin, but in that category. And there's just a lot of work going on here. It's not yet clear what will be the dominant stable coin or if there will be multiple ones, but it's a very, very fascinating industry. It's a very, very necessary one. But before I continue, I want to say the stablecoin that I am personally most bullish on is the WTF coin, the World Trade Front that Vitalik announced last year in April. Everyone needs to get some of this. If you don't know what it is, Google it, you should know what it is. This is going to change the world economy. All right, problem number 3. It is very hard to compete with free apps. The current centralized applications, many people sign up for free. They press some buttons, they tap some things on their iPhone or Android, and magic happens. You can call a car via Uber, you can book a house via Airbnb, you can talk to your friends, you can upload your photos. Guess what? On the blockchain, each of these transactions, even if you're not needing to send money from wallet A to wallet B, requires gas. Gas is a user friction. All the other blockchains largely have this concept as well. If it's not gas, it's something else. But this is a user friction that right now has not quite yet been solved. Gas means that there's cognitive load when users are using dApps. They have to think about whether or not they want to press every single button to get a user interaction. In addition to that, if you don't have Ethereum, or if you don't have Neo, or if you don't have whatever it is, you may not actually be able to even have an early onboarding experience as a user. And this is extremely problematic for the world of decentralized applications. All right, what are some of the solutions here? Guess what? We didn't really see that many out there, so the team at Origin is starting to work on some of this. So I want to call out Yupan. Yupan is the first engineer at YouTube. He was also one of the co-founders of PayPal. Now he leads R&D efforts at Origin. And so one of his things that he's focusing on is user adoption. How do we actually bridge the gap to the mainstream? And so he's come up with this new innovative solution that we're kind of pre-announcing right now, called the no gas solution. And there's been some discussion about this, but as far as I understand, this is the first time that someone's actually prototyped it and built out a demo. So what does no gas really mean? Well, users don't want to pay gas for minor user experience interactions. Sure, they're willing to pay gas as a transaction fee if I'm sending Ethereum to Craig, or I'm sending Ethereum to Vivian, but when they are just tapping some buttons to upload a photo, they don't want to spend gas. So what can we as ecosystem creators and innovators do to solve this problem? Well, the no gas solution is an early prototype of how we can actually pay for the gas of all the mainstream users that don't quite yet understand cryptocurrency. This is a blob of code that I am just starting to understand, but Yupan understands much better. But the general concept is, let's take a smart contract, let's declare certain functions of that smart contract as sponsorable. What does that mean? We put it through a processor that takes a smart contract and says that there are certain function calls for the smart contract that allow a user to have someone else pay for the gas. So these sponsors. Imagine a case now where I'm a user uploading a photo. I don't want to pay for uploading a photo to a dApp. So what I would do is I would potentially use the mobile application, tap on a button, upload a photo, and in the background, what would really happen is that I would broadcast to a sponsor network, and in this case, the sponsor is most likely the dApp creator, because they want to incentivize me to use the application, and that dApp creator will actually pay for my gas. And so we've started prototyping this in the Origin Marketplace demo, where users can actually interact throughout the application without having to hit MetaMask 10 times, pressing submit, or using a mobile wallet and verifying every single transaction. We can actually allow other people to pay for that gas. And this makes sense. If you look at the traditional world, you look at how traditional applications are built, there are API keys. There are social apps using Google Maps, or they're using Facebook API, or they're using some paid API service. And all these calls, they cost a minute amount of money, but it's usually the application developers that sponsor this because they're working with the actual API creators, whether it's Google, Facebook, whatever it might be. And so the end user doesn't end up paying for this. It's already being sponsored in the traditional world. We can try the same paradigm in the decentralized world, and I think it will make a very, very, very big difference for user adoption. Almost there, and then we'll bring it to the main event. Fourth problem here, wallets are very difficult to use compared to traditional user accounts right now. People are familiar with email addresses, phone numbers, resetting password, but in the Ethereum world, in the rest of the blockchain world, we have a public and private key, and hey, what is my private key? Is that my password? Should I send that to someone? How do I reset my password? I lost my private key. Crap, I don't have funds now. So these user paradigms are understood very much by people in this circle that have been working with cryptocurrencies and blockchain for a while, but the mainstream, the other 99.8 or 99.9%, they don't understand these concepts yet. They don't understand how to interact with other wallets. They don't understand how to trust each other. There's no real concept of identity baked into many of these blockchains yet. This is an area that we need to overcome as well in order to get real user adoption. So again, at Origin, we've been trying to look at other solutions, and we ran into this problem, so we decided to actually innovate. So there's this Ethereum standard called ERC 725, proposed by Fabian of the Ethereum core team. He's also the creator of ERC 20, the MIST browser Web3, and he came up with a standard that allows you to attach your identity to a smart contract, then allow third-party attestation providers to test on your behalf. And so now you will have an identity that's sovereign, portable, and easy to use. I'm going to skip these slides because we're a little bit short on time. But essentially, I just want to wrap up and say there's a lot of work that we as an industry have to do. Everyone in this room that's interested, whether as an engineer, an investor, a hobbyist, this is a movement that we are all trying to create together. But we all need to be conscious of where we are. There's a lot of hype, there's a lot of potential, there's a lot of really smart people, and there's a ton of money in the space. But we're still in the first inning, there's a lot of work to do, and I hope that everyone here is motivated, enthusiastic about the next 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, that we can do credible work, do highly reputable work, to actually make a difference in the world. Now, if you or your crypto kitties or your unicorns have any questions, want to learn about Origin as a platform or any of the user experience, infrastructure, technology solutions that I propose, feel free to contact me. We have a lot of Origin folks at this event tonight, but matt@originprotocol.com is my email. My Telegram is MatthewCLu. Thank you guys very much. And now I will get out of the way for the main event, the real reason that everyone is here. Mr. Jason Su, of course, and Vitalik.
Okay, great.